Here we go. Feel happy this morning. I'm installing new electromagnetic brakes on the fifth wheel trailer here. Lots of luck. I dropped the darn bearing, so I'm going to have to flush it out with gasoline and re-grease. Of course, I'd re-grease anyways. The electromagnets attach onto the brake lever here, and when the electromagnet is engaged by hitting the brake pedal, the electromagnet grabs onto the brake drum, and the movement of the trailer pushes the brake lever in the direction of the spin and engages that brake. And I don't know if I need 2 or 4 of the new electromagnetic puppies. I have 2. I shall soon install the new one. The old one, the wire broke off at the magnet itself, so there's no way to splice it back on. A magnet with a retaining clip, and there's a new spring behind the magnet. And I've got the wire going through a strain relief. I'll wire it up and see if I get any magnetic field. I've put it all back together with the new magnet in there. I tried to test the magnet, but even though there's power going to the magnet, 12 volts, there is extremely little current going to the magnet, so it's not holding any magnetic field. I've come to the conclusion that the pickup that the trailer is attached to has a brake controller computer that regulates the amount of current going to these brakes on the magnetic brake disc. I suppose I should open up that one and see if there's one in there also, even though there's no wires going to it. So I can't test the darn thing unless I can defeat that stupid computer, make it believe that we're driving down the highway. Pain in the ass. Well, that's one of 4. Here's the driver's side forward wheel. The mounting pins for the magnetic brake system are missing. Been sheared off if they ever had them. So I'll do the other side next. Thought I would do a video, may as well, on the bearing. This is the last axle. So that cap comes off. With a screwdriver and a hammer, I'll tap it off. It's a good time to have a second person here filming while I do this. There is no second person. So I will tap it off and then film it again. Okay, the cap has come off. One can see the crown nut, and there is a cotter pin, I suppose it's called, going vertical, holding that crown nut in place. You can see the bottom of the cotter pin has been bent backwards. Should actually be bent a little bit more, and probably straight up. So I'm going to straighten that pin, and I'm going to pull it straight up until it's off of the axle, and then I can back off that crown nut. The reason we have a crown nut and that pin holding the crown nut in place is, since this is a bearing, we don't want to tighten it very much. We just want to tighten it until it's snug. So tightening the crown nut until it's snug and then putting the pin in holds that all in place so that the wheel can turn smoothly. So yeah, that was tightened up too much, the wheel wouldn't spin properly because the too much pressure on the bearing. So I'm going to take that crown nut off by first removing the pin and then unscrewing the crown nut. There's also a washer behind there, and I'm not sure, but I think it's called a throw washer. I could be wrong. That washer has a key on it. It's the hole in the middle of the washer has a flat edge on the top. I should also note that everything I remove here goes in the cap to keep it from falling on dirt and shit. And that way I always know where the pieces are. They go in the cap here. There's the pin inside the cap. And then there's a bush washer that has a flat on the top. And then the bushing is loose. Whoa! You always want to catch it before it hits the ground, otherwise you have to flush the whole damn thing out with gasoline, and I'm going to re-grease it, of course, as long as I'm out. And then the wheel casing is now free to be pulled straight out. Okay, the wheel brake drum is off, and there's the axle. I'm going to add some grease on there. This is where the electromagnet would go if there was a second pin here. I have no idea what the hell happened to the other pin. You can see when the electromagnet, if it was here, engages, it pushes the brake shoes apart. So I cannot add a second, I can't add a electromagnet there because the bloody mounting pin is gone. Got one. Guess it's broken off. That means 4 wheels, out of 4 wheels, only 2 have electromagnets on them because the other 2 are broken. I don't know if I can get a replacement part. I would need 2. Guess I would need a part number. So I'm going to grease her up and put her all back. Okay, I've greased the bloody holy Jesus out of the bearing and pushed it back in there. Now I put the washer back in. And I tighten this crown nut. I want to spin that drum, make sure that the nut is snug and that the bearing is snug and that nothing is binding. There shouldn't be anything in there to bind. And when all is snug, I want to make sure that the slot on the crown nut is facing up so that I can put the pin back in. So I'm going to tweak that very slightly with a wrench until the hole in the axle lines up with the slot in the crown nut. That slot right there, and the hole is like right there in the axle. I'm going to give it a 30-second of a turn with the wrench. Then I'm going to spin the drum again, make sure it's still spinning freely. There we go. I've got the pin in there, and I'm going to use pliers. And I'm going to pull that bottom of the pin up straight instead of backwards like it was. So there's no point in having it going backwards. There's room enough in the hub so that it can go straight up. Can't really do it with one hand here, but there we go. And the drum still spins freely. Bearing is nice and greased and in there nice and snug, and nothing's binding. Now I'm going to hammer the cap back on. Just take a rubber mallet and hammer that puppy back on. And then put the wheel back on, the tire. Jessica, girl.